So thank you again. This is the agenda of what we'll cover today. I'll be providing a brief welcome and Connect All overview before handing it off to colleagues to move through the overview of the rebuttal process, demo of the portal and how to conduct the rebuttal, and then we'll have a window of time for Q&A and discussion, and what the next steps are. Next slide. You may have already participated in many of these forums. Thank you. These are a vital process for us, and I really appreciate the team for continuing to work to get the word out on this, register everybody, provide support, and put these presentations together. And again, this is one of this in the series on the challenge process. Next slide. As you may have already been notified through the software itself, the session is being recorded. The recording and the slides will be emailed out and posted on ConnectAll's website, so you don't have to take careful notes. And any important links or key pieces of information that we refer to, we'll also share in the meeting chat, and all those links that we put in the chat will also be included in the email that goes out with the recording and slides. And for any questions that you have right now, or as we go through the presentation, please use the Zoom Q&A function, which also allows you to see and upvote the questions that other participants have submitted. So again, if you look down across your screen, you should see the Q&A function there. You may have to click on the more button to do that. So again, just so you know who you're going to be hearing from and who has been front and center answering all of the questions and providing the technical support that you have needed through the challenge process. Myself, the Senior Vice Joshua Breitbart, I'm the Senior Vice President for Connect All. Mark Tettenborn is our Director of Research and Data Analysis. Rose Veland, our Outreach Program Manager for Connect All. And we also have Jason Aloya from ReadyNet, Head of Product Platform, who'll be providing the demo in that portion of the agenda. And Kat Lau, Director of Broadband and Digital Equity with our consulting team at HR&A Advisors, will provide the rebuttal process overview portion of the agenda. And thank you again to that team for all the work that they've been doing through this process. Next slide. If this is your first time learning about Connect All, Connect All is Governor Hochul's initiative to transform New York's digital infrastructure, build a robust broadband marketplace, and bring affordable, reliable, high-speed internet service to all New Yorkers. We have 5 signature programs that the governor announced as part of Connect All. There's the Connect All Deployment Program, which is what we are focusing on today, an aspect of that. We also have ongoing our Affordable Housing Connectivity Program, our Municipal Infrastructure Program, our Digital Equity Program, and Connectivity Innovation. And I encourage you to visit our website in the programs area, the funding programs area, to learn more about those programs. Next slide. The Connect All Deployment Program is drawing on funding from the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, also known as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, which included a Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program, also known as BEAD, which will support broadband deployment to unserved and underserved locations. So our goal is to use the $646 million from that funding source, along with state funding, to reach every unserved and underserved location across the state in partnership with internet service providers in the state. The key is that only locations that are on the FCC map are eligible for funding, and specifically those that are identified and confirmed through this challenge process as being either unserved or underserved will be eligible for funding under the program. Currently, the map shows approximately 95,000 unserved and underserved locations in New York, as shown in the map on the left, but that is very much subject to change through this process. And again, we greatly appreciate your participation to arrive at the most refined and accurate map that we can through this collaborative process that we've been engaged in with you all. Next slide. So now I will hand it over to Kat Lau to provide the overview of the rebuttal process. Thank you, Kat.
Thanks, Josh, and hi, everyone. So just a few slides here before we get into the live demo to show you how this actually looks in the portal. So to orient you all on where we are within our challenge process, wanted to share an updated view of our timeline. So as you can see with the dot in May, we have just entered a new month, and we're about to kick off our rebuttal submission period. As Josh mentioned, we anticipate opening that up tomorrow morning, first thing, which will start our 30-day clock for the rebuttal submission period. So starting tomorrow morning, going for 30 days, we anticipate that'll wrap up on June 1st. And during the rebuttal submission period, this is when eligible participants in the challenge process, those are local and tribal governments, nonprofit entities, and ISPs, will be able to submit rebuttals through the portal. Once that period closes, for the remainder of June, the Connect All team will be reviewing all of the challenges and rebuttals that have been submitted, looking at all the evidence that's been submitted, and making final decisions on how to resolve each. We will then be submitting the final results of that to NTIA for approval. And once NTIA approves the results of our challenge process, that is when we have our final to-do lists for the Connect All deployment program. We will have aligned with NTIA on the final lists of served, unserved, and underserved locations across the state. So the rebuttal submission period will be opening imminently, as we said, slated to open tomorrow morning, first thing. And we will be, and actually, I'm sorry, this date at the top should say June 1st. We will be launching all of this through the same challenge portal that you all are familiar with already. So available at register.broadband.ny.gov. If you have not yet been participating in the challenge process up until this point, you can still register and participate in the rebuttal process. So please make sure to do that if you want to review challenges and submit rebuttals. Again, the eligible entities who can participate in this process are local and tribal governments, nonprofit organizations, and internet service providers. If you are not one of those entities but still want to participate in this process, you can work with a unit of local government or a local nonprofit who is participating in the process, and you can collaborate with them that way. During this rebuttal period, internet service providers who have received challenges on their service we'll be able to rebut those challenges directly, and we'll show you where you can find those in the dashboard. Any other entity will also be able to rebut what we're calling open challenges. And these are challenges that are not against any one specific internet service provider. Those are going to be available in a different page in the dashboard and open for anyone to submit rebuttals on. Just a reminder of our challenge process user guide. I know many of you have been referring to that through the challenge submission period. That is available on the portal website as well as on Connect All's website, broadband.ny.gov, and that does include some more detailed step-by-step guidance on all of the acceptable evidence types for the different challenges and rebuttals. So that's a great resource to refer to. For anyone who has not yet registered in the portal, just a quick summary on what's needed for that. It's a super simple process. It should only take a couple minutes, but you will need to submit some basic information about your organization, some contact information, and documentation of your status as a nonprofit, if you're a nonprofit, your FCC registration number, if you're an ISP, and if you are a tribal government, just the official tribe name that's recognized by the federal government. So we will be reviewing all of these applications and turning those around within just a day or two. So definitely encourage you to go ahead and register if you haven't already, and we should be able to get you into the portal very quickly. We do recommend, if there are multiple members of your team who plan to participate in this process, that the primary point of contact be the one to register first. Once that person is approved, they will be able to add other members of your team into the portal to access as well. And this is an updated version of a table we showed in our last webinar describing all of the challenge types that are available through this process. Every one of these challenge types is rebuttable. So you will see all of these different challenge types in our system when you log in. And the column here on the far right just shows which of these challenge types are specific to individual internet service providers versus which of them are those quote unquote open challenges that will be available for everyone to rebut. So again, these slides will be sent out after, so no need to take detailed notes on this, but these are the different challenge types you can expect to see in the portal. And with that, I will hand off to Jason from the Ready team to take us into the portal and show us what it looks like to access those rebuttable challenges. Thanks, Jason.
Yep, thank you, Kat. Okay, you should be able to see my screen. Let me know if that's not the case. But what you're seeing here is what will be a familiar view to many of you who have already participated in the challenge process. It is your challenge dashboard. Well, what you will notice differently after we open the challenge period tomorrow morning is that the portal will have changed its state to the rebuttal submission phase as indicated up here in the top right. And you will also notice that there are two new filters in your dashboard. You will find a list of any and all challenges that are open for rebuttal. These are all of the challenges that have not been directed at a particular entity or provider. If you have received challenges that are directed at one of your services as a provider, they will appear in this challenges received filter immediately, to the left of the open for rebuttal list. So when rebutting to a challenge, the following experience is essentially the same for all types of challenges and rebutting to all types of challenges. I'll select this first sample demonstration challenge. This is a planned service challenge that has, as a planned service challenge, it is an open challenge available for rebuttal by any permissible entity. And you'll be taken to an interface that is very similar to what you may have encountered during the challenge phase. You will find all of the details of the challenge, all of the locations that are included in the challenge, as well as the ability to, zoom in and take a closer look at any of the locations.
But ISPs will additionally have challenges that are populated in that challenges received tab. And so that's how those are separated out. I can flip back to the slides here and show just an example of what that will look like when there are some challenges in there. So on that challenges received tab, you will just see laid out the same way challenges that have been received from various entities on your specific service. And those will be sorted by type. So you can see examples here, availability, speed, and latency. But again, everyone will have access to the open for rebuttal tab. So that piece will be applicable to all. Okay, so once the rebuttal process proceeds, what happens next? So ISPs will submit rebuttals for challenges against their service. Everyone will rebut open challenges. The next step from here will be that Connect All will review the submitted rebuttals for completeness to confirm that all the evidence is acceptable. During this time, just as what just happened during the challenge submission period, we will be notifying rebutters if anything needs revision. So those notifications will come to you through email and within the portal. If you went through this just now for the challenge submission period, then you'll be familiar with how this works. Once all final rebuttals are submitted and all final revisions are in, then our final adjudication process will involve review of all of the challenges and rebuttals, all of the evidence, and ConnectAll will make those final determinations. So a couple of tips for your participation in this process. These are similar to what we talked about in the last webinar, but generally, if you are not yet registered, make sure to do so ASAP. The challenge portal is open already and has been, so you can just go to that website and submit your information, register.broadband.ny.gov, and we will approve you ASAP. If you need assistance at any point in this process, we are doing weekly office hours. So just as we did for the last month during challenge submission, we will have an open hour where anyone can join and ask any question that they like. And these are great sessions if you are just having a particular issue that's specific to you. We are able to take the time and actually troubleshoot with a lot of folks and do live screen shares and things like that. So definitely a helpful forum, but also at any point outside of those sessions, you can email us at challenge@esd.ny.gov for any kind of policy related or process related questions. If you have a specific technical issue with the portal, then we have a separate email address for the Ready team. That's nyhelpdesk@ready.net, and they will be able to take care of you. Lastly, just encourage folks to submit rebuttals as soon as possible. This entire process is fairly strictly mandated by NTIA to move along at a particularly quick pace. And so we want to make sure that we're keeping up with that and getting things through the review pipeline as quickly as possible. Getting rebuttals in early helps us do that. And also will provide you with more opportunity for revisions if we do find something that needs to be changed in your submission. So with that, we can kind of open the floor for a Q&A. I've seen a number of questions coming in through the Zoom Q&A so far, so we'll just go down this list, but definitely feel free to continue submitting those as we talk here. And our slide portion, we went through relatively quickly, so I think we have a healthy amount of time for questions. I think we will just, get through as many of these as we can. So some of them, some members of our team have been responding to in writing. I will speak to those live as well, just so everyone has the benefit of hearing those answers. So first one I'm seeing in my list is just, will you notify the provider if a challenge is submitted against the provider? Yes, that has already happened. If you're an ISP and challenges have been submitted against your service, you will have received an email notification from the portal saying challenge submitted against service. You can also see you will have received a notification that says a challenge has been submitted against your service, and we will notify you when the rebuttal period opens. So there was no action that you needed to take on those emails yet, but once the rebuttal period is open, you will see all of those challenges against your service in that challenges received tab that I was showing earlier. So yes, you will have received that notification. If you haven't, I would recommend searching your inbox for ConnectAll office and checking spam, because some of the automated emails from the portal have been going to spam. But regardless, you will see those challenges clearly identified within the portal when you log in. So they should still be accessible to you, even if you missed the notification. Let's see. Let's look at, can you bulk upload locations, including CAIs? So to clarify, the way this rebuttal process works is that you are rebutting challenges that have already been submitted. So you're not necessarily rebutting just any locations available in the map. You are rebutting locations that have been challenged, and you are rebutting them in the groupings in which they appear within challenges. So that is to say, if you have like 100 locations that you have information about, you may not necessarily be able to submit all of those in the same rebuttal if that's not how they were challenged, if that makes sense. So I think this question is sort of assuming that you're creating rebuttals a little bit from scratch or something, that you might be doing some kind of bulk upload. that's not really how this works because it is all based on challenges that have already been submitted. So a bulk upload isn't super relevant to this part of the process. If that did not answer the question, or if I misunderstood the question, please follow up and we can get deeper into that. In a similar vein, this question, can New York provide more information on locations that anyone can rebut? Will this be specific to CAI challenges? I will just flip back to the slide where we show the different challenge types. So it's not so much which locations can anyone rebut. Again, the way this is all set up is that you're rebutting based on challenges that have been submitted. So it's more about which types of challenges you can rebut. So the ones shown in this table as open in the far right column, those are the challenges that anyone is eligible to rebut. And all of those locations that are challenged under those types would be eligible for you to rebut. So the second part of this question, will this be specific to CAI challenges? You'll see that all of the CAI challenge types are open and rebuttable by anyone, but those are not the only challenges that are rebuttable by anyone. Okay. Can challengers rebut rejected status? Will there be a CAO revision request during the rebuttal phase? Rejected status, I'm not sure if you mean rejected at the end of the process, at the end of the final adjudication, or rejected from initial review. So Jenny, feel free to come off mute if you want to clarify. But if this is referring to rejection as a result of final adjudication, no, there will be no additional rebuttal round. That will be between ConnectAll and NTIA to finalize those lists. But yeah, I think that's the best answer there. And then will there be revision requests during the rebuttal phase? Jason, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe so. I think we can request revisions. And we note in our initial proposal that ConnectAll kind of reserves the right to request additional information at any point in this process. But we may request revisions from you during the rebuttal phase.
It is important to point out, though, that the NTIA guidance is pretty straightforward when it comes to rebuttal evidence. It is important to provide complete and comprehensive evidence because there is not the same sort of request for revisions that you might have encountered during the challenge submission phase as in the rebuttal phase. So in other words, there may be an opportunity for the ConnectAll office to reach out for additional clarity on rebuttal evidence, but the baseline expectation is that the rebuttal should be a one-time response and the appropriate evidence is provided in one shot.
Thanks, Jason. And Jenny, I see you followed up. This is about rejection after initial review. No, there's no rebuttal for that either. During initial review, the only challenges that were rejected entirely were challenges that either had no evidence provided at all, or evidence that didn't at all meet the thresholds. And in the case of evidence that didn't meet the thresholds, we reached out to everyone to request revisions. So if revisions were not submitted, then a challenge that didn't meet the evidence thresholds could have been rejected through that as well. But in all of those cases, we provided an opportunity for revisions. So if there's a special case or a challenge that you're concerned about, feel free to email ConnectAll at ESD or challenge at esd.ny.gov, and we can look into the details. Okay. For each of the challenge types, can you provide the best example of evidence and the minimum amount of evidence? The user guide's a bit thin on these specifics. The user guide is the kind of authoritative guide. So I'm not gonna speak off the cuff beyond what's written and published there. I think if you have specific questions about any particular challenge type, feel free to attend office hours. We can discuss that in greater detail, or feel free to email challenge@esd.ny.gov. But I don't want to improvise add to the user guide right here. I think I'm happy to provide further guidance in an office hours session as a follow-up. Thank you. Okay, and then does the past initial review status mean the evidence provided for a challenge was sufficient? Yes. Generally, we did not, we were reviewing challenges in the initial review stage to confirm they aligned with the acceptable guidelines for evidence types. We did not do a full in-depth adjudication of whether the evidence proves the basis of the challenge necessarily, because that is the place of the final adjudication process. That's when we actually will do the full technical review of all the evidence. But if it passed initial review, that means the evidence you provided was appropriate, met the guidelines of the acceptable types of evidence that can be provided for the challenge type, and that all the other information that needed to be submitted was appropriate as well. So certain challenge types had different required fields. So anything that quote unquote passed initial review, all of those challenges are proceeding into the rebuttal stage and will be available in the portal when that opens tomorrow morning. And last open question, how many challenges did the state receive? I am not sure, Josh or Mark, if we are publicizing that, but we'll defer to you on that. In the meantime, they can discuss that. In the meantime, I will mention just a couple of the challenges that, or a couple of the questions that were answered writing here. These, if you want to look in your Q&A box, these are in the answered tab. So there was a question, are rebuttal locations capped at 100 like challenges? In line with some of the first questions, all of the rebuttals happen on challenges that have already been submitted. So those challenges, as Jason says in his response here, those challenges were capped at 100. Therefore, rebuttals will have the same cap applied, since all you can do is rebut a challenge that already exists. And then another question that was resolved or answered by Jason in writing here, is there a way for eligible rebutters to see the original evidence submitted with the challenge? You will be able to see the challenge details. So the screen that Jason shared in the dashboard with that panel on the right overlaying over the map, that will show you the challenge details, including the type of challenge, the rationale for the challenge that the challenger selected. And in some cases, there are some additional fields of details. So for certain types of challenges, it'll also include the technology type, the service speed, things like that. However, you will not see the evidence files that were attached, and that's because in many cases, the evidence files are proprietary network diagrams, construction diagrams, copies of customer invoices that have contact information, things like that, information that cannot be released publicly. So you will see all of the relevant details of the challenge, and in general, the way that you rebut a challenge will not really differ, or I should say is not super dependent on the specific evidence that someone submitted as part of their challenge. You should be kind of rebutting in the same way regardless. So those challenge details should be sufficient to know what is needed to rebut. Okay. I will flip back to our next steps here, which I can go through, and if more questions come in, we can continue to answer those. But in the meantime, I will just cover quickly our next steps. So we showed this during our challenge process webinar, but wanted to resurface some contacts of regional partners, regional planning entities available to provide support and technical assistance. These are folks that Connect All has worked with throughout this process. They are very well versed on the process, and they can provide some support and advice, and potentially support with some technical analysis as well. So these are our regional partners throughout the state. If you need help getting in touch with any of these folks, we've listed their websites here, but certainly feel free to reach out to challenge@esd.ny.gov if you'd like us to facilitate an introduction, or if your county is not covered by one of these partners and you'd like help finding some support in your area. And again, these slides will be sent out, so no need to rush to jot these websites down. Okay, so our next steps here, register to participate in the rebuttal process. If you are not already registered in our portal, we will be keeping a close eye on registrations coming in, and we'll make sure to turn those around very quickly. Join office hours. We have upcoming sessions for the rebuttal period. We have standardized around Tuesday afternoons at 2 p.m. for the next 4 weeks. So you can register for those sessions on the Connect All website, and also that information will be included in the follow-up email for this session, so you can easily register there. And again, those are unstructured, hour-long sessions where anyone with a question can come, and we'll troubleshoot your issues together. So a great way to get support if you're having trouble with any piece of this process. And then lastly, get in touch with us through the challenge@esd.ny.gov email address for any questions that you have outside of an office hours session, or if you're not able to join during that Tuesday time slot. The QR code on here will take you directly to the portal, but you can also get there through register.broadband.ny.gov. And we look forward to the rebuttals. So thank you, everyone. I think we will keep the floor open maybe for another couple minutes here if there are any last questions that folks want to send through the Q&A. Otherwise, look forward to seeing you on the office hours Zooms and in our email inbox. And thank you again, as Josh said at the top. This process is really, really important to making sure that our deployment program progresses with the most accurate information possible. We know that it has been a somewhat onerous process for many of you to participate in, and we're really grateful for the engagement and the interest and the support. So thanks everyone for your questions, your attention during this session. Again, you will receive the recording, the slides, and all the relevant links in your inboxes. But with that, I think we'll let folks go if anyone wants to hop off, but otherwise, I will stay on the line for another couple minutes if there are any more questions. Thanks, everyone. I see a question in the Q&A. During office hours, can we discuss locations of concern? Yes, absolutely. For anyone not familiar, locations of concern refers to locations in the state where there may be no power available to the building, or it's like a remote hunting lodge that is only occupied for a week out of the year and is kind of intentionally off the grid. We've identified a number of these locations where broadband deployment is going to be especially challenging. So we've been asking stakeholders to identify those for us and alert Connect All of those locations. So we've been collecting those. It's not exactly, the challenge process is not exactly set up to collect information on those. And so Connect All has a spreadsheet available on the Connect All website where we have been asking stakeholders to provide information on those locations of concern. So Rose just dropped the link in the chat. And we are going to be taking in that information and communicating with NTIA and FCC about them as appropriate. But the challenge process is not totally set up to account for those. So that's why Connect All set up this kind of parallel process. So yes, we can absolutely discuss those during office hours. And for anyone who is new to that concept, if my description just now piqued your interest and made you think of some locations in your area that you might want to flag for us, then definitely go to the Connect All website and check out that template. Thank you. All right, we'll give it one more minute here before we close out. And thank you everyone for joining. Okay, I see one question that just came through. Is the rebuttal challenge an ISP disputing a challenge to an area they already cover, or applicants disputing areas the FCC map says are covered? Is the rebuttal challenge? There might be a word or two missing here, but hopefully I'm understanding this right. So challenges are generally disputing information that the FCC map has. So it's not necessarily disputing a location the FCC map says is covered. It might be the opposite. It might be a location that the FCC says is unserved, and someone submitted a planned service or an existing service challenge to say, actually, this is served. So it could go in either direction. But challenges are generally disputing the information that's on the FCC map. And then rebuttals are disputing those challenges. So whichever direction the challenge is going in, the rebuttal will go in the opposite direction. Malik, I don't know if I understood your question or if that answered it. So definitely follow up if that's still unclear.
No, it answered it. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Okay, and one new question: can your rebuttal be for an area that may have connectivity but is an economically challenged area that requires more options for residents? I think this question is getting at affordability, which is not the focus of the BEAD challenge process. Connect All is definitely still interested in information that you have about those barriers. So definitely feel free to reach out to the Connect All office if there's information you want to share about resident feedback that you're hearing about a lack of provider options or something like that in an area. The BEAD challenge process does not exactly cover, or it does not exactly focus on that particular scenario. It's more about just the designation of served, underserved, unserved. So I would recommend just connecting with the team outside of this process to share that type of feedback. But generally speaking, the way this question was phrased, can your rebuttal be for an area that might have that particular issue? Again, just want to reiterate, all rebuttals can only be on challenges that have already been submitted. So you will see what's available in the dashboard when that opens up tomorrow. But you would be limited just to rebutting on locations that have already been challenged, which may or may not fall into the types of areas that you're talking about. All right. with that, I think we will go ahead and close this out. So we look forward again to seeing folks on our office hours session. The first one being May 7th at 2 p.m. Rose put the registration link for that in the chat, so feel free to sign up there, and certainly feel free to reach out to the Connect All team at the email address that you see on your screen here between now and then. Thanks so much, everyone.